Revealed. Shocking truth of a nurse wife's $15 million secret life selling body parts for 20 years. Sarah sat at the breakfast table, her hands trembling as she stirred her coffee. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting warm rays over the family photos lining the wall. Smiling faces filled the frames. Her husband Mike, a hard-working mechanic, and their two children, Jake and Lily, side by side, laughing and playing. Yet, beneath this picture-perfect life lay a truth so dark that it made her stomach churn. For 20 years, Sarah had been the beloved nurse in their close-knit suburban Ohio community. She was the first to comfort the struggling veterans who came into the clinic, their stories and pain bleeding into her heart. Each kindness she offered hid the deep shadows of her own choices. While she patched up wounds by day, she harvested from the very bodies she tended to by night. The body parts sourced from her workplace had earned her fortune $15 million. It was a secret tucked beneath layers of gasps and whispers, a burden she bore alone as the aroma of pancakes drifted through the air. The reality of her son's rare condition tightened around her chest. Jake's treatment was a financial sinkhole, and each day without proper care felt like a countdown clock ticking ominously. Her love for her family collided violently with the ghosts of her decisions. She glanced over at Mike, immersed in breakfast chatter with the kids, his honest smile creating a stark contrast against her tangled web of deceit. The weight of secrets scratched at her heart like an itch she couldn't reach. Conversations drowned in her mind, neighbors whispering, eyes narrowing suspiciously as they sensed their unease. Sarah sensed the tension brewing around them, their conversations laced with curiosity about her sudden lifestyle upgrades. How could they know? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Weeks passed. Each visit to the clinic chipped away at her conscience. The bright fluorescent lights blurred her vision as she treated veterans with kindness, their battles with PTSD and injuries hauntingly real. Yet, she felt herself retreating into darkness, her smiles for them overshadowed by guilt. The moment came unexpectedly. Mike, searching for tools in their cluttered garage, stumbled upon a stack of receipts, each one a reminder of the lies that held them together. His heart raced, betrayal coursed through his veins. He confronted her, anger flooding his voice. How could you do this? You stood for everything good in our lives. In that hectic moment, Sarah felt her world crumble, her facade of a loving wife and mother melting away. Her choices hung between them like a chasm, dark and unforgiving. With tears in her eyes, she gripped the table, realizing how far she had strayed from the values they built together. Silence engulfed them, the past 20 years crashing down like an avalanche. Now, as Sarah stood on the precipice of undoing a life she constructed on betrayal, she faced an urgent question. Could she ever be forgiven? Could kindness replace the stain of her sins? The echoes of her children's laughter reverberated in her mind, urging her to find a way back. But could she ever reconstruct the trust she tore apart? The air felt heavy, thick with unsaid words. Mike's face twisted with disbelief, his brow furrowed as he processed her truth. The kitchen, once a place filled with laughter and warmth, turned icy and still. Sarah wanted to scream, to explain, but her voice faltered. I never wanted this. She finally exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling as she faced the man who once believed in her. I thought I could control it. I thought it was for a good cause, for us. But at what cost? Mike shot back, fists clenched at his sides. You've betrayed everyone. What about the lives you've destroyed? The people who trusted you? His words hit Sarah like a slap. She felt them tear through her heart, each syllable a painful reminder of the double life she had led. Her fingers brushed the edges of the receipts scattered across the table like fallen leaves, each one a fragment of her fractured existence. Jake's treatment, she finally managed to say, desperation weaving through her voice. It's so expensive. I thought I could save him. But this isn't saving him, Sarah. It's destroying you. It's erasing the woman I love. A wave of sorrow washed over her. The truth was, she felt lost. In the pursuit of money, she had let darkness seep into her soul. It may have started with noble intentions, but greed had twisted her path. As the tears began to fall, Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of her children's future hanging in the balance. Mike's gaze softened for a moment. "What were you thinking?" he asked, his voice softer now, tinged with pain. I thought I could do good while providing for us all. I was foolish." Jake and Lily's cheerful laughter echoed from the living room, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in their tiny home. In that moment, Sarah felt a surge of determination. The laughter that filled their home kept her tethered, even when hope seemed distant. "Maybe I can change," she said, almost pleading. "Maybe I can find a way back. Help me, Mike. Please." He sighed, his anger giving way to anguish. "I want to help you, but how can I trust you again? You've built this web of lies. What if you just keep spinning it?" His question hung in the air, unresolved, just like her future. Sarah's heart raced. She had to make a choice. Could she pull herself out of the abyss she had created? Could she fight to reinstate the trust that had been shattered? "But if you're willing to try, I will try too," she added, her voice steadying. "I'll come clean. I'll find a way to fix this." Mike's eyes searched hers, delving deep into the girl he once knew. Was there a spark of the person he fell in love with still flickering underneath the mess? "Let us talk later," he said finally, exhaustion etched on his face. "I need time to think." As he left the room, Sarah's heart plummeted. Could they truly weather this storm? The laughter of her children now felt like a jarring reminder of her failures. The phone buzzed on the table, pulling her out of her spiraling thoughts. It was a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. I know what you've been up to." Her breath caught in her throat as panic surged through her. Who knew? And what would they demand in return? In that moment, she realized her secrets now had the power to destroy everything. What was the cost of her past choices? As she stared out the kitchen window, the world outside blended into a blur, a reflection of her own chaotic life. What awaited her on the other side of this revelation? Would she fight for redemption, or would the darkness consume her completely? The buzzing of the phone taunted her, each vibration echoing her growing dread. Who could it be? Was it someone she had wronged? Sarah's hand shook as she picked it up, stealing glances toward the living room, where Jake and Lily played, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding in their mother's heart. Her fingers hovered over the screen, hesitation paralyzing her. What if the message was from someone connected to her past, a dealer, a former accomplice, or worse? The tug of worry for her children pulled at her like a lifeline. They needed her to be strong, but how could she be when she was crumbling inside? Taking a deep breath, she opened the message. "We need to talk. I know what you've been up to." 3 simple sentences spun the world around her like a tornado. Anger flared, mixed with fear. The walls felt like they were closing in. The truth she had buried for so long was finally clawing its way to the surface. "Who are you?" she typed back, not bothering to hide the desperation in her words. In moments, a reply pinged back. "Let us talk in person. Tonight. 7 p.m. You know the spot." Her heart raced. The spot. The one place she used to go, where she met those shady figures in the shadows of her life. It felt like a trap, but what choice did she have? Could she ignore this thread dangling precariously over her? She paced the kitchen, wrestling with her options. Meeting this person could open Pandora's box, but avoiding it could risk everything. Could she live with herself knowing she had a chance to confront her demons and chose to turn away? Jake's laughter rang through the hall, bright and innocent, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her heart. The thought of him learning about her past, it made her stomach twist. Could she truly bear to see that confusion on his face? A knock on the front door startled her from her spiraling thoughts. Maybe it was Mike, returning for a last-minute talk. Or maybe it was someone seeking to pull her further into the shadows. As she approached the door, uncertainty rooted her feet to the ground. Taking one last glance at the kids, she swallowed hard and opened the door. It wasn't Mike. It was Ginny, the neighbor, and one of the few people Sarah had allowed into her life. The worry on her face pierced through the haze clouding Sarah's mind. "Hey, Sarah. Are you okay? You look shaken." "I'm fine," Sarah lied, her voice hollow. Ginny didn't buy it, stepping into the living room and glancing at the scattered receipts. This isn't about the bills again, is it? You can talk to me. But Sarah couldn't unload her burdens onto her friend. Not now. Not when everything was so fragile. Instead, she felt the walls closing in again. No, it's just things have been tough, she said, her heart heavy with an unspoken truth. Ginny reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. You don't have to hide things from me. Just know that I'm here if you need anything. Tears threatened to spill over, but Sarah fought them down. Thank you, Ginny. I appreciate it. After a few more moments of awkward silence, Ginny left, her concern lingering in the air. As the door clicked shut, Sarah returned to her thoughts. The message had said to meet tonight, but would it lead to her freedom or deliver her deeper into hell? The clock ticked ominously, and as the hour approached, she felt dread clawing at her. She had to face whoever it was. No matter the threat, she needed to wrestle back control over her life. As she stared at the clock, the last seconds ticking away, a shocking realization took her breath. What if this meeting was a chance to turn it all around, to finally come clean and reclaim her family? Could she do it? Could she really be brave enough? With a newfound resolve, Sarah picked up her phone, her finger hovering over the text history. She needed to prepare for everything that lay ahead. Would the choices she made tonight lead her to redemption or expose her to deeper dangers? Only time would tell. The air felt thick, pressing down on Sarah as she glanced at the clock again. The minute hand was creeping closer to 7, and she could feel her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. Panic and anticipation twisted inside her, wrapping around her like a python squeezing tighter with each tick. She needed to stay focused, stay grounded. Looking over to her kids, joy bubbled in the middle of the storm. Jake was pretending to be a superhero while Lily giggled, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing just outside their bubble of laughter. Sarah's heart ached at their innocence. They deserved a mother who wasn't haunted by secrets or fear. "Mommy, look!" Jake shouted, jumping from the couch, cape flapping behind him. He struck a pose, his expression full of delight. That smile, so untainted, pulled at Sarah's heart, igniting a flicker of hope deep inside. "Wow, you're amazing," she replied, forcing a smile onto her face. The compliment shifted her focus, if only momentarily. But deep down, there was a lurking fear that tonight might shatter their world as they knew it. With one last look at the clock, she felt a push from the tide of destiny. It was time. Taking a shaky breath, Sarah pulled on a jacket, feeling the fabric fold around her like armor against the night. "We're going to the park," she announced, hoping to keep the routine normal for a little while longer. Maybe, just maybe, a short stroll could calm her nerves. "Can we play on the swings?" Lily piped up, her little hands clasped in excitement. "Absolutely." Sarah smiled genuinely this time, connecting with her daughter's enthusiasm. Swinging would momentarily forget the darkness pooling just beyond the edges of her day. They arrived at the playground, the setting sun casting a warm orange glow over the swings. Sarah pushed Lily gently, watching as father and daughter played, laughter echoing into the evening sky. She wished she could bottle up this happiness and carry it with her into the abyss she was about to face. But as the minutes passed, and the sun dipped lower, her grip tightened around her phone. The darkness wasn't too far behind. Sarah's fingers danced nervously on the screen, reminding herself that the person she was meeting had a grip on her past, and possibly her future. "Okay, sweeties, let us make one more round, and then we'll head home for dinner," she called. With one last push, she saw joy flicker across her children's faces and felt a stab of guilt cut through her. If she succeeded tonight, they could keep their charade going. "Mommy," Jake said, running over, energetic and hopeful. "Do you think superheroes can fly?" Sarah knelt down, her heart warming, but the shadows loomed. "I think if you believe hard enough, you can do anything." The words hung between them like an unspoken promise. When she felt brave enough, she stood and glanced at her phone again. The hour was drawing near, and as dread crept back in, urgency flooded through her veins. She needed to confront what had been lurking too long. As they strolled home, Sarah glanced back at the playground, a silent goodbye to the last speck of peace she'd known. What awaited her could seize control of her life altogether. What if this could become her moment of truth? What if she could finally break free from the past and truly endeavor toward the future she wanted for her family? The question lingered like smoke in the air, and she knew one thing for certain. Tonight would change everything. With the house in sight, her heart raced with possibility and dread alike. As she unlocked the door, the world inside felt deeply different from the one outside. Would she be able to confront her past? And what would she sacrifice for her children's future? As she stepped inside, she realized one thing. Whatever happened tonight, she was ready to face the truth, no matter how painful. And as the door clicked shut behind her, the weight of that reality settled heavy in her chest. The silence inside the house was palpable, wrapping around Sarah like a thick fog. She paused, the door still leaning against her shoulder, and inhaled deeply, the familiar scent of home lingering in the air. It was strange how a place could feel both safe and suffocating at the same time. "Mommy, can we have pizza for dinner?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. He and Lily had dashed off, their laughter bouncing off the walls. Their innocence tugged at the aching corners of her heart. "Sure, buddy." Sarah managed a smile, but it felt more like a mask than anything genuine. As she stepped into the living room, the weight of her secret loomed over her, a constant reminder of the storm gathering just out of sight. The clock's ticking was louder now. Each second brought her closer to the call that she knew would change everything. She moved toward the kitchen, where a pile of bills sat, reminders of reality mixed with dreams. She could almost hear her mother's voice in her head, urging her to be smart, to think, to fight for her family. But how could she fight when her own past was the enemy? Looking out the window, she spotted a few twinkling stars making their appearance against the twilight. That's what she wanted for her children, a future full of light, not shadows. But to have it, she needed to confront the choices she had made, those choices that threatened to shatter everything she held dear. "Jake," she called, leaning against the counter, trying to keep her voice steady. "Can you help me set the table?" "Yep, I'm on it," he replied, rushing into the dining room with Lily trailing behind. Their laughter filled the air again, a sweet antidote to the anxiety that had begun to creep back into her bones. As they bickered over placements of forks and plates, Sarah's thoughts strayed back to the upcoming conversation, the one that felt like a gaping chasm. "Mommy?" Jake's small hand tugging at her arm pulled her back into reality. "You okay? You look funny." She knelt down to his level, cupping his cheek in her hand. "I'm okay, sweet pea. Just a little tired." "Okay." He nodded, his trust in her unwavering. She envied that, the way children viewed the world with such simplicity. No complexities, no heavy decisions weighing them down. Just then, her phone buzzed on the counter. She jumped slightly, her heart racing, and her attention snapped to the screen. One unread message appeared, and it held the promise of answers she both sought and dreaded. "Jake, can you get the pizza cutter from the drawer?" Sarah said, trying to distract herself as she felt the edges of anxiety forming a noose around her neck. "Sure," he chimed and ran off. Taking a deep breath, she reached for her phone, staring at the message from the very person she was meeting tonight. Would it be information that could set her free? Or yet another brick adding weight to the walls closing in on her? She hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. What she discovered could unravel everything. What if the truth was more painful than she even imagined? With shaky resolve, she opened the message. A cold shiver trickled down her spine. The clock ticked louder now, each beat amplifying the intensity of her impending decisions. And then she read the words that sent her world spiraling. "We need to talk about your past." They're asking questions suddenly. The walls of her home seemed to press in closer. The laughter of her children faded, replaced by a growing silence. What if the truth she feared most was closer than she thought? As her heart sank, she realized that the night wasn't just going to change everything. It was going to define who she was. And with that chilling thought, the next move was clear. Would she stand and fight, or would she let the past consume her? The sound of the pizza cutter hitting the floor jolted Sarah back to the moment. She had lost herself in thought, the weight of the message pressing on her like a lead blanket. Jake's giggles rang through the kitchen as he fumbled to pick it up, the innocence on his face tearing at her heart. "Sorry, Mommy," he said with a sheepish grin, and she couldn't help but smile despite the turmoil swirling inside her. How could she let this burden fall on them? "It's okay, buddy." She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and forced herself to focus on the task at hand. As the aroma of pizza filled the kitchen, the prompts from her phone buzzed fiercely in her mind. She turned the thought over. What had she done that warranted questions? Memories of her past streaked across her mind like a film reel, long nights spent in the dimly lit hospital, not as a nurse, but as someone cloaked in secrecy and buried under guilt. Is this going to be our life? She whispered to herself as she pulled out plates from the cupboard. The sound of the children's laughter was like a distant echo now. Today, everything felt like a moment on shaky ground. She needed answers, but was she ready for the truth? Can we eat already? Lily chimed in, bouncing on her feet. Soon. Just let me grab a few things, Sarah called back, forcing energy into her voice. She turned her focus to the call that loomed ahead. In less than an hour, she'd be confronted with the very past she had tried so hard to bury. Would the revelations be an unearthing of her darkest secrets or a lighthouse guiding her back home? The clock on the wall ticked steadily, its rhythm beating in time with the rising tides of her anxiety. She set the table with trembling hands, the familiar motions suddenly becoming foreign. The children busied themselves, but Sarah noticed how they occasionally stole glances at her. Their expressions were filled with concern. They could sense the shift, the hidden storm brewing in their mother. "Mommy," Jake said again, this time more tentatively. "You promised we could watch a movie after dinner, yes?" "Yes, we will." She forced a smile and ruffled his hair, wishing the moment could freeze. But it moved forward, inevitable, and with it came the weight of what was to come. She glanced at the clock. Her heart raced, the seconds falling away like grains of sand slipping through her fingers. She couldn't help but think of what would happen if the truth unfolded tonight. Would she lose the life she had built? "Dinner's ready," she called out, her voice wavering slightly. The children bounded to the table, their joy momentarily shielding her from the reality looming on the horizon. Plates clinked together, and laughter erupted again as the family gathered. Within their chatter, Sarah felt a fleeting moment of peace. No past, no questions. Just a mother and her children. But soon, very soon, her phone would buzz again. As they finished their dinner, each bite felt like the last shred of normalcy. "Can you pass the bread, Mommy?" Lily asked, her little fingers reaching out. Sarah hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down. "Of course, sweetie." Her hand trembled as she reached for the basket, knowing that soon, she'd have to decide if she was ready to confront everything she had hidden to protect them. Her phone vibrated again, a new background noise layered atop the normal family dinner. She took a breath, daring to look at the screen, a final reminder that the past would not stay hidden any longer. As she glanced at the message, dread pooled in her stomach. It was time to confront the truth, no matter how terrifying. Would she find the courage to fight back? Or would she let the past swallow her whole? The answer lay just ahead, waiting for the moment of truth to arrive. The hum of the television filled the air, softening the tension that had settled around the dinner table. Lily and Jake were engrossed in their movie, their wide eyes flickering with excitement as the cartoon characters danced across the screen. For a moment, Sarah sat quietly, watching them, her heart swelling with love and a sharp pang of guilt. How could she protect them when her own world felt as fragile as a paper crane caught in the wind? She stole a glance at her phone. The screen lit up with another notification. The pulsing presence of her past loomed large. It was like a shadow lurking just out of sight, ready to pounce at any moment. "Mommy," Jake turned his head, still captivated by the film. "You okay?" His words caught her off guard. His concern was palpable, a stark reminder that her internal struggles were not as invisible as she hoped. She offered him a quick smile, brushing aside the mounting anxiety. "Of course, honey." Just thinking. Lily's laughter erupted, drawing Sarah's attention back to the screen. For a moment, the innocence of her kids washed over her like a warm tide, making everything feel right again. But as the credits began to roll, the laughter faded, replaced by the ominous ticking of the clock on the wall. The facade of normalcy was quickly crumbling. "Let us get some popcorn," Lily suggested, bouncing from her spot. Jake joined in her excitement, and soon they were both rushing into the kitchen. Sarah remained seated, staring at her phone, battling with her thoughts. Should she call? Should she let it all go? The temptation to ignore the message clawed at her. But silence wouldn't protect her. "Mommy, hurry!" Jake shouted from the kitchen. His voice jolted her from her reverie, scattering her fears like leaves in a storm. "Coming," she called back, taking a breath before she stood. Each step felt heavy as she walked towards them. Inside the kitchen, Her children were tossing popcorn into an oversized bowl, kernels bouncing around like carefree wishes. The sight tugged at her heart, a picture of innocence in a world that felt anything but. "Do you want to help?" Jake asked, holding up the bowl triumphantly. Sarah knelt beside them, the distractions of the moment easing her heavy heart, at least for now. The three of them shared silly jokes over the popcorn, laughter mixing with the crunching of snacks. But in the back of her mind, there was a steady thrum of dread. What would happen once the clock struck the hour? As they snuggled onto the couch, flicking through channels, Sarah's mind was pulled in two directions. Each click of the remote brought an onslaught of memories, the late-night shifts, the blood-scented air, and secrets that she had sworn to keep hidden. "Mommy, you're spacing out again," Lily nudged her gently. "Just a bit tired," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that felt too tight on her lips. As the movie began, her heart raced with the timer ticking down. She had no idea how much longer she could pretend. The phone pinged loudly, slicing through the cozy atmosphere. Sarah's stomach dropped as she glanced at the screen, the name she dreaded staring back at her. It was a lifeline, but also a noose. "Mommy?" Jake's voice cut through the fog of her thoughts. "Everything's okay, sweetheart." She grabbed a pillow and hugged it tightly, seeking the comfort of solidity. But the truth was slipping through her fingers like water. Could she really face this? Could she tear down the walls she had built to protect them? With a burst of resolve, Sarah glanced at her kids, their laughter echoing in her ears like a lighthouse beacon amidst the storm. This wasn't just about her anymore. "Let us finish this movie," she said. Her fingers hovered over her phone, knowing that eventually she would have to confront the truth. And as the story unfolded on the screen, she leaned in closer, knowing deep down that the moment of reckoning loomed just at the edge of her breaking point. How dark could the truth get? What would it cost her to uncover it? The flickering images of bright colors and animated adventures on the screen danced in Sarah's eyes, but they were mere shadows of the turmoil inside her. She tried to immerse herself in the light-hearted dialogue, but every joke felt distant, like echoes in a chamber too big to hold them. "Mommy, did you see that?" Jake burst out, his laughter bringing a fleeting comfort. But as she nodded, forcing a grin, the knot in her stomach tightened. She had seen nothing, immersed in another world filled with worries, the weight of her past sitting heavy on her chest. The clock's ticking became a cruel reminder of time slipping away. The notifications on her phone transformed into a heartbeat of dread, persistent and unyielding. Why couldn't she just turn it off? Why couldn't she bury whatever was waiting for her beneath the waves of popcorn and laughter? "Mommy." Lily's voice brought her back again. "You promised to help me with my science project. Right?" Right as Sarah glanced at her daughter's eager face, her heart ached. She didn't want to let Lily down. "Not now, not ever. Let us do it after the movie, okay?" Sarah finally suggested, ruffling Lily's hair, a small attempt to force her own happiness. Lily beamed, the innocence in her expression momentarily soothing Sarah's anxieties. But then came another ping from her phone, this one sharper, more insistent. It felt like a siren alarming her to danger, a reminder that reality could burst through this bubble at any moment. "How about something more exciting?" Sarah blurted out. "Let us watch a scary movie when this one ends." Both children giggled, their fears fading in the light of their mother's enthusiasm. But it was only a temporary escape. As the credits rolled, Sarah's pulse quickened. "Okay, time to get serious," Jake said, his little voice suddenly serious. "How about you tell us a scary story instead? You're the best at those." Oh, to be the best at something so innocent, so joyful. Sarah took a deep breath, grasping for anything to stall for time. "All right, gather around," she urged, pulling them closer. She began weaving a tale about friendly ghosts who only wanted to make friends, deftly steering clear of anything too dark. But while she conjured up playful specters, her thoughts were haunted by the real phantoms of her life, the looming phone call, and the secrets she carried. With every twist of her story, she glimpsed Jake and Lily reveling in the fantasy, their eyes wide with wonder. This was the joy she wanted to hold on to protect fiercely. But suddenly, a startling realization struck her. Their trust was genuinely a fragile thing, just waiting to be shattered by her truth. As the last words of her story spilled from her lips, silence enveloped the room, broken only by the distant hum of traffic outside. "Can we do this every night?" Lily asked, her small face bright with innocence. Sarah hesitated. I can't promise that. The words hung heavy in the air. She felt the moment stretching, as her children's hopeful eyes searched hers. She was carrying too much, and with every heartbeat, the reality of it all pressed harder against her. Just then, her phone chimed again, vibrating with urgent insistence. Sarah's heart sank. It felt as if that little device was on a mission to dismantle everything she had built. Taking a deep breath, she stood, unable to ignore it any longer. Just a minute, kids, she said softly, her voice cracking under the strain of what was to come. As she walked towards her phone, her mind was racing. The truth waited on the other end, and deep down, she knew it was time to confront her past. But would she be strong enough? Each ringing vibration pulled her closer to the edge, deepening the silence in the room behind her. When she turned back, those innocent faces looked up at her full of love, but also questions she wasn't ready to answer. What would she say that could ever make sense of it all? And as she reached for the phone, a single thought consumed her. What if unleashing the truth unraveled everything in a way she couldn't repair? With resolve hardening in her chest, she opened the message. This was it. How would her world change when the truth finally found light? The screen lit up with a flood of messages. Each alert seemed heavier than the last, and Sarah could feel the pulse of her heart throbbing in her ears. It was almost as if the words were screaming at her, begging for acknowledgement. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself and tapped on the first message. The sender was someone she had hoped to forget, someone who represented everything she hadn't been ready to confront. But here it was, the past crashing into the present, uninvited and undeniable. Sarah, I need to talk. It's urgent before it all comes out. The moment she read those words, a chill raced down her spine. The air in the room seemed to thicken, wrapping around her like fog. She glanced back at Jake and Lily. They were still engrossed in the excitement of post-movie conversation, unaware of the encroaching storm brewing just beyond their small bubble of normalcy. Mommy? Lily called, her voice a sweet reminder of innocence nestled in turmoil. What's wrong? Nothing, sweetie, just a work thing. The words came out stilted, almost foreign to her own ears. Can we have ice cream? Jake chimed in, his wide eyes sparkling with the kind of hope that felt foreign to Sarah in this moment. Sure, after you clean up your toys, she replied, trying to conjure enthusiasm that just wouldn't come. As they began to tidy up, her mind raced. The messages continued to flood in, each one a reminder that her past never truly left. It was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to rise again. Sarah, it's about your dad. You need to listen to me. Her breath caught in her throat. Her father. The mention of him was a jarring jolt back to memories she had fought to suppress, emotions she had buried deep under layers of anger and sadness. She could hear her father's voice asking about her day, his genuine smile that felt so far removed now. But beneath the warmth lay a sense of betrayal. Could he have known? Did he ever care? Her fingers hovered over the screen. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, to shatter the portal that connected her to that past. But she also needed to know. Was there something about him that tied back into the dark web, threatening to undo her? Mommy. Jake's voice pulled her from her spiral. Can we just have 2 scoops? Please. 2 scoops coming right up. She managed to smile, but it was like wearing a mask. Jake and Lily giggled again, their laughter bright but distant to her ears. The excitement melted into a backdrop to her spiraling thoughts. As she filled their bowls, her mind danced between fear and resolve. Fruits of memories oozed around her, sticky and suffocating. The sound of her children's laughter mixed oddly with memories of hushed conversations and fleeting glances that felt more like a betrayal than a family bond. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, and the faint sound of footsteps filled the hallway. It was Robert. He walked in with that same easy smile, as if the chaos of her mind didn't already paint storm clouds on her face. Hey fam, what's up? He called cheerfully. Just getting some ice cream ready, Sarah replied, feeling the tension rise again, a wave threatening to crash over them all. Robert knelt down, ruffling Jake's hair. Great. Any left for me? For a moment, everything felt normal. But as she watched him interact with their kids, the well of unease bubbled again. Could she be the only one weighed down by the past? The message from earlier still nagged at the back of her mind. It was the catalyst waiting to ignite everything. As the children, oblivious and happy, chattered about toppings, Sarah felt a veil of dread settle over her. She needed clarity. Another sound broke through her thoughts, the ping of her phone again. With frantic hands, she unlocked it. But what she froze on next dropped the fragments of her world into chaos. The name on the message was someone she hadn't thought about in years, and yet it was packed with meaning. Sarah, remember what you did? It's time the truth came out. Her breath was stolen, and she turned to face Robert. The questions were etched on his face, and she could see the quiet concern pooling in his eyes. The walls started to close in again, and she wondered if this was the moment her carefully constructed facade would crack. What if that truth shattered everything she held dear? Sarah, are you okay? Robert asked gently, his voice breaking through the fog. The words stuck in her throat, but before she could answer, a thought struck her. How could she even begin to explain? As the tension in the air thickened, a new ring danced through the silence, and she braced herself. What if that truth was more than she could bear? And with the seconds ticking away, Sarah recognized she stood on the precipice of revelation. Sarah's heart raced as she stared at her phone, the weight of the new revelation starting to suffocate her. Every word flashed like a neon sign on the screen, a reminder that the past wouldn't stay buried forever. Sarah, you know what you did? It's time the truth came out. She felt the world around her blur, the laughter of her children fading into hushed whispers. Questions bombarded her mind. Was this person really threatening her? Did they know everything? Mommy, are we getting the ice cream or not? Jake's innocent voice pulled her back. She glanced over at him. He was bouncing with anticipation. That innocent smile jolted her heart. How could she let darkness seep into their joy? Everything's fine, buddy. Just a little distraction, she managed to say, forcing a smile. Suddenly, Robert's gentle concern came rushing back. Sarah, you seem off. Are you sure everything is okay? Her gut twisted. How could she tell him she was barely holding it together? That she was on the edge of losing everything? For a moment, the room felt like a cage, and she couldn't breathe. Look, I just need a moment, she whispered, stepping away towards the kitchen. The walls felt like they were closing in, the air thick with unspoken secrets. She opened the back door, stepping out into the warm evening air, desperately seeking clarity. The soft rustle of leaves and distant laughter from her children lingered behind her. It was like a spell, peaceful yet haunting. Closing her eyes, she thought of her family. Mike, Jake, Lily. Their smiling faces ignited a flicker of strength within. I can't let them down. Not again, she whispered to herself. But then, the message buzzed in her pocket again, like a nagging reminder of the storm that awaited. She pulled it out, feeling the weight of each word. Did she really think she could outrun this? With a deep breath, she turned around and walked back inside. The warmth enveloped her like an embrace, but it was also a shroud of anxiety. She needed to face Robert. He had a right to know who she was, as difficult as that reality was to confront. Robert, she said quietly. He turned, his face a mixture of confusion and concern. Can we talk? Of course, he replied, his voice calm and steady, as if he sensed the heaviness in her heart. I need to tell you something. The weight of those words felt like a mountain on her chest. There's something from my past it's ugly, and it threatens everything we have. Robert's brows furrowed, concern deepening in his eyes. What is it? I haven't been truthful with you. Sarah's voice trembled. For 2 decades, I've been hiding a portion of my life. Something horrible I did to save Jake's life and provide for our family. What did you do? His voice was hushed, serious. I was part of a selling operation. I sold body parts. Robert, she spilled, the words tumbling out like stones, heavy and jagged. It seemed like a way to save our son, to give him what he needed. But it twisted me, and now it's all crashing down. Someone knows and is threatening to expose everything. Silence wrapped around them like a thick fog, so dense it felt palpable. Robert's face morphed into an expression she couldn't read, and she was terrified of what he would say next. This revelation was a chasm between them. Sarah, he began, his voice carefully measured. Do you realize how serious this is? This is beyond just us now. I know. She burst out, tears pooling in her eyes. But please, it was out of love. I did it for Jake. I didn't want to lose him. At that moment, Robert's icy demeanor melted, and she saw the flicker of pain in his gaze. But in trying to save him, you put everything at risk. Our family, our life, it's all hanging by a thread. You have to take responsibility. We have to face this together. The resolve in his voice ignited a feeling she and T expected hope. Maybe they could weather this storm. I will, she said, determination washing over her heart. I promise to come clean. I'm ready to face the consequences. No more hiding. As they stood there, a sense of unity wrapped them in its embrace. Betrayal was real and painful, yes, but so was their bond. They were both determined to protect the children and break free from the darkness that had gripped them. Let us talk to the kids, Robert said softly, stepping closer. They deserve to know the truth, even if it's hard. Sarah nodded, her heart racing but steadied by a newfound sense of direction. It was time to fight for her family, to face the past that haunted them with courage. Hand in hand, they walked back into the kitchen, ready to tackle whatever came next. As Jake and Lily's laughter filled the air once more, they could hear the first echoes of light breaking through the dark clouds. They were a family, imperfect yet whole, willing to fight together for a future that still sparkled with promise. That night, they would turn the tide. And while facing the truth would not be easy, it was a step toward redemption. All right, kiddos, Sarah said, gathering her courage. We need to talk. And in that moment, she felt the first rays of hope breaking through the promise of transformation. If you're inspired by Sarah's story and want to hear more, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and push this powerful story to others. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread hope together.